Every evening, an old man placed 2 cups of tea on his table, even though he had lived alone for 12 years. Nobody understood why, until one evening, a young boy asked him the question that changed everything. His name was Kamal. He was 74 years old. He lived in a small house at the end of a narrow street. His life was simple: a small garden, an old radio, a wooden dining table, and one strange habit. Every evening at exactly 6:30 p.m., Kamal made 2 cups of tea. He placed 1 cup in front of himself and the second cup on the empty chair across from him. Then he would sit quietly. Sometimes he smiled, sometimes he talked, and sometimes he simply stared at the empty chair. The neighbors thought he was strange. Some whispered, "The old man has lost his mind." But Kamal never explained. One afternoon, a 12-year-old boy named Ali came to his house. Ali lived nearby. He often saw Kamal sitting alone. That evening, Ali finally gathered enough courage to ask, "Uncle, why do you always make 2 cups of tea?" Kamal looked at him. For a moment, he didn't answer. Then he smiled. "Because someone is still sitting there." Ali looked at the empty chair. There was nobody. He laughed nervously. "Who?" Kamal lowered his eyes. "My son." Ali became silent. "Where is he?" Kamal looked toward the window and said, "I don't know." Ali came back the next day, and the day after that. Slowly, he and Kamal became friends. They talked about school, about football, about life, but Ali never asked about Kamal's son again, until one rainy evening. Kamal became sick. Ali found him sitting beside the same table. 2 cups of tea were there, but this time, Kamal hadn't touched either one. Ali rushed toward him. "Uncle, are you okay?" Kamal slowly opened his eyes. Then he pointed toward the empty chair. "I promised him I'd wait." Ali asked, "Who?" Kamal took a deep breath and finally told him the story. 20 years earlier, Kamal's son Samir had been 19 years old. He was intelligent, ambitious, and desperate to leave the small town. One day, Samir received an opportunity to work in another city. He was excited. He packed his bag. Before leaving, he sat at the dining table with his father. His father made tea, 2 cups, just like he did every evening. Samir smiled and said, "Dad, I'll become successful and come back." Kamal replied, "You don't need to become successful, just come back." Samir laughed. "I'll come back when I have something to show you." Kamal smiled. "You are already enough." But Samir didn't understand those words. He left. At first, Samir called every day, then every week, then once a month, then nothing. Kamal kept waiting. He called. No answer. He sent messages. No reply. Years passed. Kamal didn't know what had happened. Maybe Samir was angry. Maybe he was too busy. Maybe he had started a new life. Maybe he simply didn't want to come back. But Kamal refused to believe the worst. Every evening at 6:30, he made 2 cups of tea, one for himself, one for his son. And he waited. Ali looked at him with tears in his eyes. "Uncle, after 20 years, don't you think he might never come back?" Kamal smiled. "Maybe." "Then why do you still wait?" Kamal looked at the empty chair and said, "Because if I stop waiting, I will have to accept that I've lost him." Ali didn't know what to say. The next morning, Ali decided to help. He searched through Kamal's old things, old photographs, old documents, old notebooks. Then he found something, a photograph of Samir. On the back was an old phone number. Ali tried it. The number didn't work. He tried searching for Samir's name online. Nothing. Days passed. Nothing. Then, one afternoon, Ali received a message. It was from a man living in another city. The man claimed he knew Samir. Ali's heart started beating faster. He asked, "Do you know where he is?" The man replied, "Yes." Then he sent an address. Ali ran to Kamal's house. He was holding the piece of paper tightly. "Uncle, I found him." Kamal froze. His hands started shaking. "Where?" Ali gave him the address. Kamal stared at it. He didn't smile. He didn't cry. He simply whispered, "After all these years." The next morning, Kamal traveled to the city. Ali went with him. They reached a small apartment. Kamal stood outside the door. His hand moved toward the bell, then stopped. 20 years of questions were inside his heart. What if Samir had forgotten him? What if he didn't want to see him? What if he had a family of his own? What if... Kamal turned around. "Let's go." Ali stopped him. "Uncle." Kamal looked at him. Ali said, "You waited 20 years for this door. Don't walk away now." Kamal took a deep breath and pressed the bell. The door opened. A man stood there, older, tired, but Kamal recognized him immediately. Samir. The man's face changed, his eyes filled with tears. For several seconds, neither of them moved. Then Samir whispered, "Dad." Kamal's lips began to tremble. He stepped forward and hugged his son. 20 years of silence disappeared in one embrace. Samir cried, "I'm sorry." Kamal held him tighter and said, "Come home." Samir looked at him. "Can you forgive me?" Kamal smiled through his tears. "I was your father before you left. I was your father while you were gone. And I'm still your father today." On the journey home, Samir finally told him the truth. He had been ashamed. After leaving home, he failed again and again. He lost his job. He lost money. His business collapsed. He became afraid to return. Every year he told himself, "I'll go home when I'm successful." But success never came. And eventually, shame became stronger than love. Kamal listened quietly. Then he said, "Son, you were never required to come home successful. I only wanted you to come home." Samir started crying again, because those were the exact words he had needed to hear 20 years earlier. That evening, for the first time in 12 years, Kamal placed 2 cups of tea on the table, but something was different. The second cup was no longer in front of an empty chair. Samir was sitting there. They talked for hours about everything they had missed, about life, about mistakes, about the years they could never get back. And before going to bed, Samir looked at his father and said, "Dad, tomorrow I'll make the tea." Kamal smiled. "No." Samir laughed. "Why?" Kamal looked at him. "Because I've waited 20 years to drink tea with you." Maybe you're like Samir. Maybe there is someone you want to call, but you're waiting until your life becomes perfect. Maybe you're thinking, "I'll go home when I become successful. I'll apologize when I'm ready. I'll call them when I have more time. I'll visit them tomorrow." But listen carefully. People don't need the perfect version of you. They need you. Your parents don't need you to become rich before you visit them. Your family doesn't need an expensive gift. Someone who loves you doesn't need a perfect apology. Sometimes, they just need you to walk through the door. Don't wait until you have something impressive to show someone you love, because the people who truly love you aren't waiting for your success. They're waiting for your presence. And one day, you may finally become successful, only to discover that the person you wanted to show your success to is no longer waiting. So if there is someone you've been avoiding, call them. If there is someone you've been too proud to visit, go to them. If you've made a mistake, say, "I'm sorry." Don't wait for life to force you to understand their value, because sometimes the most expensive thing you'll ever lose isn't money. It's time, and unlike money, you can never earn it back. Don't make the people who love you wait for a better version of you. Go to them as you are, because one day you may have everything you ever wanted. But the chair across from you may be empty, and when that day comes, no amount of success will fill it.